Again, Khawar saleem-qamar is here with another interesting video in this course of HTML and CSS. This is lesson number 12, and in this lesson we are going to learn about CSS colors and what are the different ways in which we represent colors in CSS. So let's get into it. First of all, what are the different sort of specified colors that we can use inside CSS? There are actually four main types of colors that are often used in CSS to specify colors. For example, those four are RGB, RGBA, X color code, and HSL, which means hue, saturation, and lightness. We are going to talk about each of them in a minute. So first of all, let me show you a compilation that I just did in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, making a file for you starting from 00 and all the way to FF. All of the colors are present here. If you want this file, you can get it. The link is in description. Let us talk about what is the usage of color in CSS. Actually, in CSS, color is used for making the main appearance of the page. It gives a new life to the vision or the display of the page. Colors play specifically a big role in defining the front end of a web page. There are various properties in CSS in which we can use these colors. For example, text color, background color, border color, and various other properties which can use these colors. Let us talk about what are the different ways and what are the main ways of CSS to specify the colors in it. So as I told you earlier, there are these four types which are most of the time used. These are RGB, RGBA, HEX mean X color code, and HSL. Let us talk about each of them individually. First of all, RGB, which stands for red, green, and blue. It is a color combination with combining these three colors, red, green, and blue. We match different ratios of these three colors and make a new composite color. For example, in CSS, the value of RGB is given in this format, RGB, and inside this RGB we give first of all the red color, then green, and the blue. The order of these colors and the values of these colors is really important in CSS. As you can see written in here that the value of each color, red, green, or blue, starts from 0 and all the way up to 255. None of the value among these three colors can exceed 255 and cannot be lower than 0. And after this comes the RGBA. RGBA is same as RGB, but there is only one difference, that the alpha is a new parameter in it, and this alpha decides the opacity of the page. So opacity of the color, its value is between 0 and 1. If the value is 0, the color is completely transparent and there won't be any color visible, whereas if it's 1, it is completely the color that is composite of red, green, and blue, and every value between 0 and 1 decides the transparency of the color. And after this comes the hex color. Actually, in a minute we are going to see all of these colors in a practical example in our code, but for now let us get a bit of theory about it and get a better understanding, and when we will be using it practically, we should know what is the mean of each of the type that we are writing as a value of a color property. Right here, this hex color, this is the main pattern of writing hex. The hash sign and the first two alphabets are for red colors, the second two alphabets are for green color, and the last two alphabets are for blue color. Their values, as specified in RGB as well, starts 0 to all the way to 255, but in this case we don't use these digits, but we use the hex colors, the hex formats of these colors. For example, as you can see in this line as well, that it starts from 00 and all the way to FF. The digits right here cannot exceed 00 or FF. The color code or the alphabet for each red, green, or blue is between 0 and F. This is the hex code. These are the hex codes for both of these respective digits 0 and 255. After this HEX comes the HSL. HSL stands for hue, saturation and lightness. This is a bit of complicated type of color that we are going to use in CSS. It needs a bit of more theory to make it understand. So let us get to our new slide. First of all, before moving to next slide, let us see that what is the format of writing this color in CSS. Right here, as you can see, it is written the same way as we do for RGB, but right here the parameters and the name of the function are totally different. The name of the function is HSL, whereas the parameters contain hue, saturation and light. The order of these parameters is also important. Otherwise, if you would change them, the value for each of these parameters is having this different sort of bounding area. For example, right in this slide, as you can see, the hue is actually a degree, starting from 0 all the way to 360. From 0 to 120, it represents the red color. From 0 to 20, as you move towards the larger number, the intensity of red color inside our selected color increases, whereas from 120 to 240, it's green there, and up all the way up to 360, starting from 240, is the blue color. After the hue, there comes the saturation as the second parameter, and this saturation is a percentage starting from 0 all the way to 100. The 0%, if we write the 0% as a parameter, then it would give a bit of grayish shade in our color, whereas in 100% we would get the full color that is actually described, or composition of those red, green and blue colors described in our hue. Whereas the third parameter, the lightness, describes the white to black shade inside the color, whereas if the percentage described as a lightness parameter is 0, then the color would contain complete black shade inside it, whereas if it's a complete 100%, that it would contain a shade of white color in it, whereas the 50 is neither light or dark, it is a bit of middle thing. So let us see all of these formats inside our IDE and get a practical example of all of them. Right here, we're going to do a practical for all these 4 type of colors inside our IDE. So let's jump. Right, as you can see, these are our previous files used in our previous lessons. So in this lesson, I am going to create a new file named as lesson 12, as this is our lesson 12. It contains the CSS colors as our topic. So writing its extension .html, which is very important. And after this, I am going to create the basic boilerplate and giving it the title of CSS colors. Right here, as you can see, I am going to create a div. This div will contain a little bit of text. Pardon the mistakes. Whereas after this, we are going to create an internal CSS tag. If you don't know what is the internal or external CSS, you can refer to our previous videos. Right here, I am going to give the style to this div, and in this div, I am going to give the background color, as I'm going to take background color as our reference property, in which we are going to give the values in these specified CSS formats, so that we can see what is the difference between all of them and what are the different ways of specifying them. First of all, let's go with RGB. As I told you, the format of writing the RGB color is a function named as RGB. First of all, we give the red color, then green, and then the blue one. So for red color, if I give 255, then the intensity of red color is completely 100%, if you can see. And the intensity of green, if I give it 0, and for blue I give it 0 as well. And if we go to our browser, then you can suppose the color would be red, because the intensity of that color is 100%, as you can see inside our browser as well. So after this, if I may give the color I will give the parameter of blue as 255 as well. Then the color would be composition of red and green color, which becomes yellow, right, as you can see right here. After this, let us move to our next format, which is the same as RGB, but it contains a new parameter, which is alpha parameter. If I may write here alpha parameter as well, you can see if I give the parameter of 0 right here, it means that the value from 0 all the way to 1 is 0, which means 0% of the color, and it would be completely transparent. Right, as you can see in our browser, the background color is completely transparent and we are able to see the background color of our main body. So if I am write this one, I am write 1 rather than 0, then it would depict the complete color as in our browser it could be seen. Whereas if I give the middle 0.5 as a parameter for alpha channel, that you can see the opacity of color is 50% right now. Let us copy it so that it may contain the reference for you, because I would be giving this file to you people as a study material, and so that it could be a reference for you to look about these colors. So for practice I am going to comment it, and it would be right inside this file, and you would completely be able to use them and understand them as we did in our practice. You can download the study materials, the link would be in description. So let's move to our next color, which is the hex format. So this hex format, for this let us first write our property, and in this property I am going to give the hex color as a specified earlier as well. It contains hashtag in start, and after that we give it the color in hex. For example, the color code for red, green or blue starts for 00 to FF. So for red if I may give 00, and for blue if I give FF, and for green I give 00, which means that I am giving complete intensity to my green color. And if we see in our browser, the background of this div is completely green because we have given the 100% intensity to this hex color. You can play with this hex color, different codes, and you can take the help of the file that I shown you in the starting of this lesson as well. You would completely be able to download the file, the link would be in description. After this we are up to our next format, which is hue, saturation and lightness. Let us practice for it by commenting this one, background color HSL as our function, and the values for it. The first value is, as I shown you, it is the hue, and hue value starts from 0 to all the way to 360 degree. I am going to give 180 right here for the example. Let us see what color would it be coming out. So after this comes the saturation, which is the percentage from 0 all the way to 100. Let's give it 60%, and for the lightness give it 100% so that it may get a bit of whiteness shade. So if I may come back to our browser, then you can see it is completely containing that white color of shade, because I have provided right here the color for lightness as 100. So I have commented all of the text, all of the properties that we used right here, so that it may be reference for you. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked the video. Thank you. Goodbye.